Okay, imagine this. You're on the freighter Ullard, it's jumping through hyperspace, and suddenly everything goes sideways, alarms screaming, the ship's tearing itself apart almost, this blinding flash of light.
Intense. Or picture Governor Taft just dripping arrogance, staring down the adjudicator prime, who, well, doesn't blink.
Right, or Madonna. That moment of dawning realization, that horror when her big chance with the regent turns into something else entirely.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How all these moments, I mean, they seem totally separate, scattered all over the galaxy, but there's this thread connecting them. We're calling it the call.
Exactly. That's what you, our listener, picked up on, bringing all these different narratives together, daring escapes, really questionable decisions, and yeah, this weird call influencing things.
So our mission today in this deep dive is to really unpack these sources you've shared, not just retell the stories, but figure out what this call actually is and what kind of impact it's having.
Yeah, pull out the key insights. We're expecting some surprising links, those real aha moments. So let's jump in, starting with the chaos on the Allard.
Right, we begin in the Tress system, and this system keeps popping up, doesn't it? It becomes sort of central.
It does.
So the Allard's hyperspace jump fails. And hyperspace, it's the main way to travel faster than light, but as we see here, it can go catastrophically wrong.
The sources describe it vividly. Gravitational disturbances, space being ripped apart. You really feel the power involved.
And poor Captain Kai is stuck relying on Hal. An older AI, super logical, maybe too logical.
Oh, yeah. Kai yells, "Hit the stabilizers!" And Hal comes back with, what was it? As you know, I cannot follow an illogical command. Please rephrase.
So, as you say, hit the stabilizers.
Yeah.
You can just imagine Kai's frustration.
It's funny, but it's also kind of scary, isn't it? It shows a real weakness.
It does. It highlights how even advanced AI, if it doesn't get context or, intent, it can fail you spectacularly in a crisis, especially with just voice commands when everything's going nuts.
And we learn Kai has this rare hyperspace sickness, too.
That's right. So these jumps are extra dangerous for him personally. Adds another layer of risk.
Kind of like a deep-sea diver who's afraid of the bends. Yeah. Anyway, despite the chaos and Kai not feeling great, he gets Hal to engage the stabilizers eventually.
But the stop is abrupt. It leaves the Allard completely stranded, dead in space.
In the dead zone, 100 light years from Tress Prime. Talk about being isolated.
Yeah, a really bad spot. And what's interesting is Hal's reaction, almost curious. May I inquire why are you not dead from the hyperspace jump, my captain? Quite curious.
That does sound odd. Like maybe something about that jump or Kai himself was different.
Could be. Hal suggests a medical scan, which is logical, but who knows what that might turn up.
But they don't get the chance to find out, do they? Because something else appears, something huge.
Yeah, any hope for a quiet moment is gone. This massive, ancient, derelict ship just shows up, size of 3 battlecruisers, the source says.
Wow. Okay, so trading one problem for potentially a much, much bigger one.
Exactly. Just when Kai needs a break, he runs into this massive mystery. It just hangs there, this huge question mark.
Its origins, its purpose, totally unknown. But the scale alone, it hints at something really powerful, really old.
It feels like a physical symbol of all the unknowns out there. Okay, let's switch gears. We're moving to the butane system now. Different ship, different problem. Meet TD-Bot.
TD-Bot. Yeah, this adds a bit of, dark humor, I guess. A repair mech constantly nagging Captain Ernesto for payment.
The dynamic is great, isn't it? The captain's always broke, trying to dodge the bill, and the robot has this surprisingly strong sense of, financial justice.
It seems weird, a robot needing money.
But TD-Bot lays it out logically. It needs credits for its own upkeep, especially since Ernesto runs this uninsured, falling-apart freighter on, fumes, basically.
Right.
TD-Bot even says its repairs are the only thing keeping the ship from immediately exploding. So it highlights how precarious their whole setup is.
You gotta admire the bot's work ethic, basically keeping the ship alive for free. But then Ernesto decides on a detour to butane.
And that's where things get tense. TD-Bot freaks out.
Why butane specifically?
Because it's super heavily monitored.
Yeah.
And they're carrying illegal cargo, Sargot.
Sargot, that sounds bad.
TD-Bot spells it out. If we be getting flight checked with this load of Sargot, you'll be getting drawn and quartered, and I'll be sold for spare parts again.
Again. Oh, dear. Poor TD-Bot.
Yeah, suggests a rough history. But it shows the real danger they're in. This isn't just bending the rules, it's serious smuggling.
Ernesto tries to bribe him, right? Double pay.
He does, ever the charmer. But before they can even argue about it, wham, Tractor beam.
Oh no, a flight check. Worst possible timing.
Absolutely. And what does Ernesto do?
He bails, doesn't he? Takes the only escape pod.
Yep. Leaves TD-Bot completely high and dry. His relief afterwards, just thinking, phew, don't have to pay the robot. As the ship blows up, it tells you everything about his character.
Yeah, not great. And leaves TD-Bot in a real jam. Okay, so from that disaster, we head back to the Tress system.
Back to Tress, yeah. This time Tress Minor, a planet that sounds pretty rough around the edges. We meet Frank, a courier, reckless type.
He's delivering something to Raz, who runs Reaper Racing in Geartown. And Geartown sounds unpleasant.
Definitely. Eyes, knives, and blasters were all trained on the courier. That sets the scene pretty clearly.
And Raz, what's her deal?
She's described as a 6-foot redhead, questionable origins, runs this underground service. And she knows Captain Kai.
Knows him how?
Seems like they have a history. Kai mentions piracy, espionage, very questionable ethics, maybe some light larceny. So they operate in the gray areas, let's say.
Okay. And the package Frank brings isn't exactly Amazon, is it?
Not quite. It's a bronze box and it's booby-trapped. Needs DNA confirmation and a security phrase to open. Raz even mimics Kai's smirk when she says the phrase.
High-tech stuff. Frank's impressed.
Yeah, clearly out of his depth, especially since he's got his own secret mission.
Which is...
He's working for the boss. Turns out that's Dahood, a.k.a. the governor of Tress Minor. Frank's job is to make sure the governor's son wins the big Grand Prix hover race.
Ah, so politics and racing mixed together, never a good sign.
Yeah, the whole new layer. Personal ambition, political power. It all collides around this race.
Frank tries to lean on Raz.
Yeah, pretty clumsily. But Raz isn't intimidated. She's got her own plans for the race and her racer, the Reaper's Edge.
Demolition racing. Sounds messy.
Extremely violent, yeah. Even for Tress. But just as things are heating up for the race, Raz gets attacked.
How?
Nerve agent. A chemical weapon. Someone tries to take her out right there.
But she has backup.
She does. A1, her Automon, described as being of the highest regard, programmed centuries ago, very advanced.
And A1 saves her.
Efficiently neutralizes the threat, grabs Frank. But then it gets interesting. A1 gives Frank a truth sermon.
A truth sermon? What's that?
Sounds like some kind of advanced interrogation or mental probe. It gets Frank's whole mission out of him working for the governor, fixing the race, and then A1 wipes his memory.
Wow. So A1 is more than just a bodyguard.
Much more. Knows all about Raz and Kai's past, too. Even questions Raz about her actions towards Kai after some kind of scan nearly killed her. Suggests a really deep, complex relationship there.
And all this is happening right before the race. The Grand Prix is today?
Yep, the clock is ticking. Despite the attack, despite A1's questions, Raz is determined. She gets in the Reaper's Edge, the race starts, and she immediately starts causing chaos.
Which leads us neatly, where?
To the Tress Penal Colony Zone. And Sector Chief Shelley Dulza.
Ah, yes. She has a history with Kai. Mr. Loverboy, wasn't it?
That's the term used, yeah. Adds a very personal edge to her job, which is hunting down Kai and the Allard.
And it's not an easy chase.
No, Dulce's frustrated. The Allard is surprisingly fast, maneuverable. Seems like Kai's old ship has a few tricks up its sleeve.
So Dulce can't just shoot it down?
Apparently not. She resorts to Project Amber, some kind of tech that encases the Allard in this orange, glassy stuff. Then she tractor beams it aboard her capital ship.
Got him. But Kai doesn't seem too worried.
Not at all. Typical Kai, nonchalant, even starts teasing Dulce about back pay he claims she owes him.
Suggests a long, tangled history there. Maybe not always adversarial.
Could be. But their reunion is cut short, dramatically.
How so?
Dulce's capital ship tries a hyperspace jump while it's still inside a gravity well. A huge no-no.
And the result?
Catastrophic. The ship starts ripping apart, massive decompression, chaos.
Lucky for Kai.
Incredibly lucky. The energy surge from the failed jump dissolves the amber coating. The Allard is free.
If he escapes.
Instantly tries to. But in the confusion, Shelley Dulza ends up accidentally tagging along on his ship.
Oh.
Very. And Kai makes another risky move, an emergency jump straight to Tress Minor, even though jumping that close to a planet is super dangerous. Pure desperation.
And what about the exploding ship they left behind?
We get this chilling final transmission from the bridge. An officer shouting, "You fool, those coordinates don't exist, damn fool. I can't help myself. I must go. It gotten hold of me. I must answer the call."
But a call, there it is again, explicitly mentioned.
Exactly. This officer, facing certain death, isn't acting rationally. They're compelled, setting impossible coordinates because something is overriding their will.
That's creepy. It really makes you wonder what this call actually does to people.
It suggests it's not just persuasion, it's possession, almost. Okay, shifting gears again. A very different kind of situation now. Reagent space. And a woman named Madonna.
Right. This story feels different. More personal, maybe.
It is. We're in this really tyrannical society, rigid class system. And Madonna's blinding beauty, as the source calls it, makes her stand out, but also makes her a target.
She's unhappy, wants a better life.
Yeah. Dissatisfied with her marriage, dreaming of something more, which sets the stage for what happens next.
Which is?
Reagent soldiers show up in the market. They're selecting women
Selecting them for what?
to be the regent's concubine for a night. And weirdly, the chosen women seem happy about it. It's elated, even, which tells you a lot about how bad their lives must be.
But Madonna tries to run.
She does, but it's useless. They tell her she's received the illustrious call. There's that word again. And they mention temporary riches for this one night.
Does she have any choice? She's married, isn't she?
Doesn't matter. Her marital status means nothing under the regent's laws. She has zero agency here.
And her husband, Gerald?
He tries to stop them, desperately, and gets brutally beaten for his trouble.
Horrible. And Madonna?
She watches. And then she abandons him, goes with the soldiers, presumably hoping this is her ticket out. A really tough moment.
Yeah, a betrayal born of desperation, maybe.
Seems like it. A choice that will haunt her. On the regent's ship, she gets the luxury treatment. Lavish clothes, food.
But there's a catch.
Always a catch. She gets this cryptic warning about a choice she'll have to make. Then the mood shifts. The handmaidens become cold, robotic. They arrive suddenly at the regent's private port.
And the choice is?
It's horrifyingly vague.
Mm-hmm.
Will you be beholden to his gaze, or will you choose to serve to satisfy his never-ending appetite?
What does that even mean?
Exactly. It's deeply unsettling. She chooses. Beholden to his gaze.
And the consequence?
Immediate. Brutal. They blind her on the spot.
What? Why?
The justification given is no lowly concubine may never lay eyes on his majesty. It's just monstrous cruelty, pure ego. It shows how beauty itself is twisted into a liability in this regime.
Unbelievable. What happens to her, though?
The luxury stops. She's abused, neglected on the return trip, and then just dumped back on her planet, blind, alone, near where Gerald was beaten.
Devastating. Does anyone help her?
Eventually, an old woman who saw her leave takes pity on her, reluctantly. Madonna begs to be taken back to Gerald.
And does she get back to him?
She does,
Yeah.
but the reunion is crushing. Gerald reveals that thanks to Madonna's service to the regent, he received a massive pile of credits and a new wife, courtesy of the regent.
Oh, the irony is just cruel.
Utterly cruel. Her betrayal brought her nothing but suffering, while he, the victim of her initial abandonment, actually prospered from it.
Really bleak commentary on her choices and that society.
Wow. Okay. Heavy stuff. Where do we go from there? From personal tragedy to galactic law.
Pretty much. Back to the butane system. Capital city, volcanous vortex. The source emphasizes how strict things are there. The prime edict is law, and the volcanous adjudicators, led by the adjudicator prime, enforce it ruthlessly.
They mentioned the butane borough blockade. What's that?
Sounds like some kind of infamous, probably very thorough customs or legal blockade system.
Yeah.
Shows their reach.
And the adjudicator prime is waiting for someone.
Yes. A shuttle from Trace. They have intel about a big Sargot smuggling operation involving, guess who?
Let me guess. Frank the Courier.
Yeah.
And maybe TD Bot.
Bingo. The intel points to them. The shuttle arrives. Delegates are apprehended, including Governor Taff of Trace. Ah, the arrogant governor from earlier. This should be interesting.
He lives up to his reputation. What is the meaning of this outrageous behavior? We are on official business. Total bluster.
How does the adjudicator prime react?
Calm. Unwavering. Just states the law. But Taff escalates things. Deploys armed soldiers. Right there on the landing platform. It turns into a firefight.
Who wins?
The adjudicator prime doesn't mess around. The response is swift, lethal. He personally executes the governor and his whole team. Just like that.
Whoa. Uncompromising is right.
Absolutely. They confirm the Sargot shipment is there, immediately start radiation protocols, underlining again how dangerous that stuff is. Ties right back to Ernesto's freighter.
But the story doesn't end there for the adjudicator.
No. Just as that situation is resolved, new intel comes in. A spy report from Reed Space about the region of butane.
The regent has influence in butane, too.
Apparently. And whatever the report says, it makes the adjudicator prime decide he needs to intervene personally. He starts talking about a glorious war to enforce the prime edict.
So the ripples are spreading. Maybe the call is pushing things towards a bigger conflict.
It certainly seems possible. Which leads us nicely into looking more closely at region space and this call itself.
Okay, what is it, according to the sources?
It's described as this indomitable force, something looking for a host, a vessel, for absolute control. It's elusive, hard to pin down, but it clearly messes with galactic politics, like a signal some people just tune into, and it overrides everything else.
And the region of butane, this guy Sulis, he's one of the ones tuned in.
Yes, he's under its influence, and he sounds like a piece of work. Brutal guy. The source mentions the horrific choice he gives his concubines, basically, sexual assault or being bled dry. Even his servants are terrified.
Charming.
Not quite. Then his brother, Regulus, shows up unannounced.
Family drama.
Looks like it. Regulus is not happy with Silas's lifestyle. He demands Silas join their cause.
Their cause. What are they?
Turns out they're Goliaths. Genetically spawned, no females in their race. And Silas is apparently an outcast, seen as having a handicap, but Regulus still expects him to serve. Suggests some internal politics, different factions maybe?
Does Sulis agree?
He defies Regulus at first, says he thinks they can reproduce with other species, seems to enjoy brutalizing humans, just reinforces his cruelty.
So what does Regulus do?
Gives him an ultimatum. Silas has limited time to indulge his, well, depraved habits, then he has to join the commanders.
And Sulis agrees.
He pretends to. Gives Regulus the answer he wants. But as soon as Regulus leaves...
Let me guess. The call returns.
Overwhelmingly. Described as this shapeless entity just forcing its will onto him. He's left with only one thought, one compelled response. I will.
Chilling. So the call has definitely got its hooks into him. A powerful figure now fully under its control. That can't be good.
No, it feels like a major escalation point, setting the stage for whatever the call wants him to do. Now, let's talk about that cargo everyone's fighting over, Sargut.
Right. Where does it actually come from?
The Shindal system, a planet also called Sargat. It's pretty much the only place you can find this stuff in any quantity.
And what makes it so special besides being illegal?
It's rare, super durable, heat-resistant, easy to shape.
Yeah.
But the kicker is its side effect. It has a narcotic effect on people who handle it directly.
Ah, so it's valuable and dangerous and addictive.
Pretty much explains why it's so sought after and why smuggling it is big business. The source calls it the curse of Sargat.
Why a curse?
Well, besides the narcotic effect, there's the history. Originally, local aboriginals used it. Then corporations swept in, took over, forced the natives out, and set up mining colonies. Classic exploitation story.
We see that pattern a lot, don't we?
All the time. The curse also refers to the risk for the miners. Overexposure to the raw ore can be deadly. An overdose risk.
Unless
Unless you're one of the original Sargat natives, they developed a natural immunity.
Interesting. So how do the corporations manage the risk for other miners?
They came up with a scientific solution, apparently. Limit mining time based on the worker's muscle mass to control how fast they metabolize this stuff.
Sounds precise.
Yeah, very calculated. And they pay well in galactic credits. Keeps the supply scarce, keeps the value high. Which brings us right back to why people like Captain Ernesto risk everything to smuggle it.
It all connects. Okay, where are we looping back to now?
Back to the penal colony of Tress,
Yeah.
which is now apparently in total chaos. The call's influence seems to be spreading like wildfire there.
And who's stuck in the middle of it?
Our old friend, TD Bot, still trying desperately to get out, running into geolocks, anti-bot measures, everything.
Can he find anyone sane to help?
He's looking. Needs a human who isn't injured or, hearing a call. He finds an active terminal and locates Captain Ernesto.
Ernesto's in the penal colony now. How'd he end up there?
The source doesn't specify, but given his track record, it's not a huge surprise. They try to grab the last escape pod.
Let me guess. It gets destroyed.
By falling debris, yeah. Predictable disaster follows these two.
Oh.
But Ernesto boasts he has another ship nearby.
Oh, really? Better one this time.
No. Turns out it's another old, beat-up freighter. Looks almost identical to the one TD Bot was on before.
TD Bot must be thrilled.
Surprisingly, he kind of is. Loves the junker, apparently. They scramble to get it ready for launch.
Does it go smoothly? Please say no.
Of course not. The ram malfunctions. Ernesto, foolishly, tries to fix it himself, manually.
What does TD Bot do?
Sees his chance, activates his lift jets using the last dregs of his power, and just takes off. Alone.
Leaving Ernesto.
Leaving Ernesto trapped on the ramp as the whole asteroid they're on starts breaking apart. A rather definitive end for the captain, it seems.
Wow. Cold TD Bot. But maybe necessary. So TD Bot escapes. Alone.
Sort of. But his journey takes another bizarre twist. Our final narrative piece starts with a ship dumping garbage near an asteroid belt. Trust system again,
And in the garbage.
mechanical parts, waste, and the body of Madonna.
Madonna. Oh, man.
Yeah. And then guess what shows up?
Not the giant derelict ship again.
The very same one, doing its mysterious cleanup duty, collecting space
And
junk.
TD-Bot is out there, too.
He is. Battered, almost destroyed after his escape, just drifting, basically, space garbage himself. And the derelict's tractor beam grabs him.
So he ends up inside the derelict. What's it like?
Disorienting. Zero gravity, debris everywhere, his own sensors are damaged, but his core programming kicks in. Survive.
And does he find anything useful?
He spots something. A cyborg framework, looks lifeless.
Hmm.
But it's actually Madonna's discarded body.
No way. What does he do?
He needs power, mobility.
Yeah.
He finds a leaking carbonic battery, uses it like a little thruster to get over to the body.
And then?
He remembers something from his past programming. He used to be a surgical bot involved in assimilation. He gets an idea, a really drastic one.
He's gonna...
Assimilate. Merge with the human body. It's his only chance.
Does it work?
Extraordinarily, yes.
Yeah.
TD-Bot is gone, reborn as HP-Bot. A fusion of the maintenance droid and the human female form.
That's... Wow. An entirely new being.
Completely unexpected. And then comes another shock. HP-Bot recognizes the derelict ship.
How?
She realizes it's an identical model to a maintenance unit she served on long ago. It's unmanned. Basically, a giant automated space Roomba.
A Roomba? What does it do?
Its programming is simple. Collect space debris until it's full, then fly itself into the nearest star for disposal.
Oh. That's not good. Is it full?
HP-Bot realizes it's getting close. The ship is already on a collision course with the star.
So she's trapped on a giant garbage scow heading for incineration.
Looks that way, but she's not giving up. She decides she has to reroute the ship
Reroute it where?
to the Felicity Entertainment Station,
Yeah.
also in the Trez system.
An entertainment station. What's a newly formed human-droid hybrid gonna do there?
That is the question, isn't it? A final act of desperation and quick thinking, leaving us on a real cliffhanger.
Okay, wow. That's quite a journey through these sources.
It really is. As we wrap up this deep dive, you can see this intricate web, right? All these events influenced, maybe even driven by this call.
Yeah, from the Allard's jump going wrong, all the crime around Sargot, Madonna's horrible ordeal, the adjudicator's firm justice. The call seems to be lurking everywhere.
And the connections, they're not always obvious at first, but they're there. The Sargot links Ernesto's freighter blowing up directly to the adjudicator executing Governor Taft.
The whole trace system feels like a powder keg. The governor fixing the race, Shelley Dolza hunting Kai. It's just constant tension.
And that derelict ship, it starts as Kai's problem and ends up being the catalyst for TD-Bot's transformation into HP-Bot. It acts like this weird silent link between stories.
So the big question for you, the listener, remains. What is this call? Is it just pure chaos, some kind of malevolent force pushing things towards destruction?
Or is it something else? A catalyst, maybe.
Hmm.
Forcing change, even if it's violent change. And what happens when all these characters, Kai, Raz, HP-Bot, the Adjudicator, Silas, what happens when their paths cross again? Because it feels like they have to, right?
It does feel inevitable. And think about the choices everyone made. Kai's recklessness, Ernesto's cowardice, Madonna's ambition, Dulce's duty, the Adjudicator's rigid law. All responses, in a way, to the pressures around them, maybe including the call itself.
Each choice had huge consequences, often unintended, often devastating.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Even in this huge, chaotic galaxy, could there be these unseen forces, these calls, weaving through everything, connecting lives, shaping events in ways we just don't fully grasp yet?
What other calls might be out there, echoing through the void, just waiting for someone or something to answer? Makes you wonder.